Hello and welcome to Classroom Strategies to Engage Parents. My name is Jessica Wall and I am one of the engagement coaches with SunWest. My role is to support schools and teachers with their work as they engage parents and students. I am so glad you decided to join me today because the work of parent engagement is crucial in supporting student achievement. In this session, we are going to briefly explore what parent engagement is, and then I'll share a variety of strategies you might consider utilizing in your own classroom. Hanover research found when families and community members are involved in student learning, students improve their academic performance and gain advocates that promote their success, helping them feel more confident at school and in taking on more rigorous classwork. I'm sure if we were to all take the time to reflect on our own experiences growing up, there were multiple people from our family, school, and community who contributed to our growth and development. I love the quote, "It takes a village to raise a child," but I love the addition you see here on the screen even more, and the continued support of that village to help the child succeed in school. There are many different members who will contribute to the growth and development of a child, and I encourage you to take a moment and consider how you are creating space for that village to come together to support the children you work with. Let's break down a student's time in a year. We have 365 days in a year, and we're going to times that by 15 hours of awake time. This is just an estimate for a child. And we get 5,475 hours of awake time for a child in 1 year. In a school year, we have 950 hours of contact time with a teacher. Let's take the contact hours and divide that by the number of awake hours to see how much time a child spends in school. 17% of a child's year is spent in school. So that means 83% of a child's year is spent off the school landscape. We often hear from teachers that we see students the most of their time is spent with us. But when we break it down, the facts are that's actually not true. Students are off the school landscape 83% of the year. We only have a small amount of time to spend with the kids. But when we partner together, our 17% can become more meaningful. The time spent at home, on the tractor, at the rink, playing with siblings, or at daycare all matter. Parents and family matter and contribute to a child's learning and development, even after they've entered the school system. As we consider who is part of that child's village, from our quote on the last slide, all these people and all those moments are part of that. We need to walk alongside parents and support them in the educational journey of their child. When we do this, our separate times come together for a rich and meaningful learning journey. 50 years of research attest to the fact that when parents are engaged in their children's teaching and learning, children are more successful both academically and socially. Research shows that when parents are engaged in a child's teaching and learning, there is increased attendance, test scores, and an overall happiness in schools. There are 3 ways we are going to connect with families. We are going to inform, involve, or engage. It is important to note that all 3 ways are important and necessary. But engagement is that sweet spot that we begin to see impact on students academically and socially. On the next slide, we will explore the difference between involve and engage. But before we do, let's define inform. Inform means to give or impart knowledge of a fact or a circumstance. This is an important part of communication. We need to inform parents of school events, classroom activities, or updates about student work. Inform, though, is a one-way communication, where the teacher is simply sharing the information with the parent and there's no invitation for parent voice. As I said above, this is important and necessary, but it should not be confused with engaging parents. Let's explore the difference between parent involvement and parent engagement, because these are often used interchangeably. First, we're going to talk about parent involvement. Involve is defined as to include or contain. When we involve parents, the school leads with their mouth, doing to, and it really just requires a warm body. It often doesn't matter who that is. On the flip side, we have parent engagement. Engage is defined as to come together or interlock. When schools engage parents, they lead with their ears, asking questions to understand and listen. It is something schools are doing with parents, and it requires parent knowledge for the best outcome. So that means we don't necessarily just need a warm body, but we need that parent or family member to be part. Larry Ferlazzo is a researcher from Sacramento who has done a lot of work in this area. He says, schools often lead with their mouth, identifying projects, needs, and goals, and then telling parents how they can contribute. A school striving for parent engagement leads with their ears, listening to what parents think, dream, and worry about. The goal for family engagement is to gain partners. It is important to note that involvement and engagement are not a dichotomy. This is very much a spectrum. We have activities that are low impact and some that are high impact on student achievement. Some activities start out as a low impact but move into high impact because of the relationship you've already built with that parent. Here you will see the continuum of impact on student achievement for family engagement strategies. This displays the ways things have typically been done or how we have typically understood engagement to a new understanding and a more meaningful way of engaging families. And these are just a few examples listed on this continuum. There's so much more out there that we can do and probably already have done. All items listed are important and critical for relationship building and trust, but it is important to create space for those high impact activities highlighted in the purple circle. It is through these strategies that we begin to see impact on academics and social skills. So for example, hosting a family potluck or a back-to-school barbecue are a great relationship building tool, but we're not collaborating over student achievement then. When we attend a home visit with a parent, we are learning parents' hopes and dreams for their child and placing their knowledge alongside our teacher knowledge to inform our practice. We need those low impact activities just as much as the high impact. Before we can partner, we need to build trust and relationship. Engagement, when it is realized, shifts the relationship between parents and teachers from one that is hierarchical and primarily unidirectional to one that is side by side and reciprocal. We should strive to walk alongside parents, placing their parent knowledge alongside our teacher knowledge. When we work together in that way, it becomes a side-by-side partnership. If we recall, the definition to engage was to come together or interlock. Through this understanding, parents are valued as equal partners in supporting their child through the goals. I come back to this slide for a moment to invite you to do a personal reflection on your work with parents. Now that you hopefully have a better understanding of the difference between inform, involve, and engage, we are going to take a moment to do a self-assessment. In our Pebble philosophy, we honor that all students are on their own learning journey, and we meet them where they're at. The same goes for us. Each of you are on a different journey in this area of your work, and I invite you to do a self-assessment of where you're at using a 4-point rubric. A 1 would be there's little to no parent connection happening. A 2 would be inform. 3 would be involving parents. And a 4 would be engaging parents. If you're watching this video with a partner, feel invited to pause and discuss. If you're alone, again, I invite you to pause and just consider this question. Where are you at on the parent engagement rubric? Before we dive into classroom strategies, I want to share with you that the strategies we use for engaging parents are always an invitation and never an expectation. Always be inviting and creating space for parent knowledge to come alongside teacher knowledge, but never let it become your expectation that they must take part or share. I'll now share a variety of classroom strategies you may want to try out in your own classroom. As we move through these, I encourage you to consider your community's current COVID situation. I tried to be conscious of considerations for COVID, but every school and community is dealing with things a little differently, so you know what is best for your situation. The strategies are also from a variety of age ranges, but all activities can be altered to suit most age groups. Family book clubs. Family book clubs are a great way to invite parents into student learning. I originally learned about this from Brett Rowland, who taught grade 12. Kelsey Moser and Jill Drews both teach middle years in SunWest. They tried it out in their own classrooms and loved it. Simply put, families are invited into the novel study unit. Inviting them to take part in this allowed for parents to learn about reading strategies to support their child. Another important outcome was that personal connections and family stories were shared in the process. Teachers can gain educational partners through the parents and learn so much more about their student. The photo you see here is a father and his son who made a video for their final project. Here is what Jill had to say about family book clubs. We were struggling with a way to engage middle years parents in a meaningful way to their child's education. I had a class with quite a few struggling readers. The Parent-Student Book Club was my solution to encouraging literacy at home while also helping parents to gain the skills needed to assist their child with reading at home. The project was comprised of a novel, several related activities, and the Fab Four reading strategies. Parents were invited into the school for some Fab Four training before we began our novel study, and we set a schedule of reading activities together that went over 9 weeks. Unfortunately, we were unable to invite our parents back in as we were sent home that spring. We did have a lot of positive feedback from parents and students. They enjoyed reading together as a family with a guide, questions to ask, and a timeline. Students, even the reluctant ones, were also very excited for the project. We really hyped it up. Here are some COVID considerations for Family Book Club. Here are some COVID considerations for the Family Book Club. You might be able to do this as normal, but you might need to reimagine the parent training or potentially the celebration at the end. When Brett did it with his grade 12 class, the work throughout the novel took place in class or at home. There were checkups and people popped in, but families did not all gather until the very end when they celebrated. Depending on class or gathering sizes, you might need to consider going online for training and celebration or gather in small groups. Mystery readers. Mystery readers are a fun way to engage both parents and students into reading. Parents are invited to sign up as a mystery reader, where they will come in and read to students, but no one will know who is coming until it's time. Parents are asked to share clues about themselves to help build anticipation of who is coming in. We had parents, grandparents, aunts, siblings, and more. Parents are welcome to choose whatever books they like. It can be a family favorite, something new, something special to their culture, perhaps even in their home language. I had many wonderful families read, and often they got really creative and dressed up. If you know about the book ahead of time, you could create lessons around that story to tie into curriculum. You can even invite parents into that process as well. Many will be excited to participate. In fact, without even asking, I had parents doing this for my students on their own accord. I had one mom who is a nurse share about her job and read a story. She then sent nursing packages for all the students with real nursing supplies that students got to explore, play, and learn, all about the job of a nurse. It was a big hit. Kelsey Moser, who you heard about in the last slide, is also utilizing this in her grade 6 classroom. She has invited parents in to read whatever they want, but also if families are interested, they can take part in their First Chapter Fridays. Each Friday, they read the first chapter of a new book, and then that book gets raffled off to students who are interested in reading it. Parents are now coming in as mystery readers for her First Chapter Fridays. You can also take this as an opportunity to connect with community members. Perhaps your town mayor, hockey star, or other hometown heroes would love to be part of this. COVID considerations. Last year, we moved to online mystery readers. Families teamed in and still shared clues to build anticipation. Even with the online setting, parents contributed to further learning experiences by sending items ahead of time or emailing them in. Cultural math bins. I first learned about cultural math bins from Kirsten Kobalek in Saskatoon, who taught grade 1. After her math routines were in place, she invited parents and students to explore math in their home. They are then invited to bring it into the classroom and share with their classmates, and from there, they create math bins where students can revisit that learning and continue to practice math skills. It can be anything. On this slide, the first picture, a couple of pictures, we see a mother sharing all her beautiful kamars or hijabs. The kids explored patterns and created a math bin around patterns using her beautiful scarves. The next set of photos is a grandmother teaching the kids about the game Cat's Cradle. And finally, the last two photos, you see a dad and his son sharing their traditional African game called Wara. I also know this game as Mancala. After teaching the kids how to play, they noticed it's shaped similar to an egg carton, and all the kids made their own version of this game so they can play and work on math skills at home with their family. After math bins start to be created, it becomes a part of their weekly math routines. Sometimes when Kirsten first introduces these, people feel uncertain about the word cultural because they think that they don't have culture. So Kirsten will sometimes use the language tradition as well and share with families about home culture from the work of Dr. Debbie Pusher to encourage people that even playing games like snakes and ladders counts. Usually once a few people begin to share, others feel more comfortable, and after seeing some examples, more and more begin to follow. COVID considerations. You should hopefully be able to do this still. If parents are coming in at different times, so it's only one or so extra body, you should hopefully be able to do that as long as they're wearing masks. Depending on rules for bringing in items, you could ask people to share videos or photos, or ask parents to send items ahead of time so they sit for 72 hours first. Parent experts. Parent experts are a great way to utilize the knowledge and passions that your parents hold. Invite parents in to come enrich the learning happening in the classroom. You can have it as an open invitation for any time and on any area they are excited to share about. You could also plan ahead and share upcoming units and invite parents to consider if there is a way they can contribute. One year, we were learning about plants and growing. The kids became very interested in bees, so we started an inquiry. I knew the one little girl's dad used to do beekeeping, so I reached out and he was happy to come in and teach us. Another year, as part of our kindness project, the kids wanted to make cookies for the entire school. That was over 300 cookies. If it wasn't for the help and knowledge of this mom and two grandmas, I don't think we could have done it. The kids love being part of the baking process and decorating them for each class. Parents have a wealth of knowledge and can contribute incredible learning experiences to a unit. Just reach out and ask. COVID considerations. As long as parents can still come in and are willing to wear masks, this should be okay. Perhaps items need to sit for 72 hours, but for the most part, this should work. You likely won't be able to do anything with food, but that was just one of my examples. You'll want to follow your students' interests anyways, as well as parents' interests. Learner profiles. Learner profiles are becoming an important part of our learning journey. Consider inviting parents into the process of the creation of learner profiles. I did this with my kindergarten class, and it was a great time of learning for all. Some of the parents even did a couple tests to see what they were. It sparked great conversation. Amber Thompson and Outlook did an alternative get-to-know-ya activity that invited parents into the process. They completed these puzzle pieces at home together and shared them in the classroom. You might consider doing something similar for your learner profile and send materials home so parents can be a part of the process too. If you've already completed learner profiles this year, another idea would be hosting a session on what it means and how we can utilize them at home and in school. By sharing in and co-creating learner profiles, parents and staff can work together to support the child holding the same knowledge about that student as a learner. COVID considerations. Depending on your current situation, you might not be able to gather together for an evening to create profiles. Perhaps if you're outside or spread out in the gym, those would be great questions for your admin. Otherwise, sending materials home would be a great option like Amber had done, or there might be an option to do it online. If you're up for it, splitting into smaller groups is another option, so you could gather in smaller sizes. Potluck and curriculum night. This is one of my first gatherings I have for families. Potlucks build the relationship, and the curriculum night invites parents to have a voice into the learning happening at school. This night is an important relationship building tool for myself, but also for other families to connect with each other. After we're done eating, I share with parents my beliefs about parents and teaching and learning and make that verbal commitment to them. This is the beginning of our partnership, because parents' voices are now invited into the learning process. Around the room is a carousel walk with posters where parents can share their thoughts and respond to questions I have posted that will help set up our school year. I also share our SunWest outcome maps with parents so they can see what exactly the curriculum says we need to be learning in our kindergarten year. I like the outcome maps because they are in I can statements, so it's parent-friendly language. At this time, I also invite parents to consider how they might contribute to our learning. Think back to parent experts. I put the big outcome map on our smartboard and invite parents to write their name on a sticky note and place it on an outcome they might be an expert in or passionate about. I also share if they aren't sure, I will invite throughout the year as well. It is an open invitation, so they can always think on it and get back to me later. COVID considerations. You won't be able to do a potluck this year, but I encourage you to hold that in your back pocket as it is one of my favorite things to do every year. I also usually host one prior to our Christmas concert. If you are interested in hosting a curriculum night, again, gathering will be school dependent, but there could be certainly an online or paper option for this. Parent knowledge. Our parents are our first and forever teachers, so they will hold important knowledge the teacher won't have. This is an important step in relationship building and trust and creates space for parents to share their hopes and dreams for their child. Parents are the expert of their child, so inviting them to write on a get to know you form or an open letter allows parents' knowledge to be honored. Steps like this allow for that side-by-side unidirectional relationship and eliminates the hierarchical because the parent's knowledge is placed alongside the teacher's knowledge. By placing their parent knowledge alongside your teacher knowledge, you create learning environments and experiences that are safe and personalized. There are many different options for a parent knowledge form. I have 3 examples here, but check out online for many more. First, I have mine. In August, I send a postcard to students and families introducing myself and inviting them to write back. I tell them they can write back to me in the mail or bring a special write-up on their first meeting day. Next, we have a form from Kelsey Moser, who teaches grade 6. Kelsey fills out her own copy and then sends a blank one home. I'm just going to go back in 3, 3, 2, 1. Second, this is from Kelsey, who teaches grade 6. Kelsey fills out her own copy and sends it, as well as a blank one, home to her family so they can fill it one out. This is important. As we ask our parents to share and be vulnerable, we too need to do the same. One question I love on Kelsey's form is she's asking parents to share if there are any important dates that she should know about. I'm just going to write one there, 3, 2, 1. This can be on good days or tough days. This lets Kelsey know if there are any special days that she should handle that child with extra care or just be extra excited about. For example, on Kelsey's form, she shares the day that she lost her father, because that's always a tough day for her. Finally, this third form is a shorter version of the one like Kelsey's. Pam Sawatsky, who previously taught grade 3, would share this one with her families. All options are great and easily done during COVID. STEM night. STEM activities are a hit at any age. Consider bringing parents into the learning process. This is always a fun night. I have set up stations around the gym and students and parents engage in the learning process together. This is especially fun following learner profiles because that is fresh in their brains and discussions around learning styles often are part of that night. COVID considerations. Once again, gathering sizes might be an issue. You might consider sending materials home or creating STEM activities with items regularly found in someone's home and just create more flexibility as everyone's materials will differ. Home learning journals. As we learned earlier, 83% of a child's school year is spent off the school landscape. There is a lot of rich learning happening in that time, so I encourage you to create space for that learning to be honored. I use home learning journals as a way for learning at home or off the school landscape to be honored, and I do count it towards curriculum. These journals create awareness that education is happening all around us, all the time, and everywhere we go. I've used different options for these. First, I've used those big scrapbooks and invited parents and children to fill them out with all the learning they are doing. It does not necessarily have to be connected to what we are working on. Any learning counts. Often, in all the experiences, we can count something from the curriculum. We are just naming it for parents. Once Seesaw introduced home learning codes, I started using those as a different option. This way, I found more people were quick to share because it was just a snap of a photo. When parents share on the scrapbook or below the Seesaw post, I would comment and share some outcomes in friendly language that they've been working on. Here you see Riley was playing the card game Garbage. So I would engage in her post and then also add in that she was working on identifying numbers as well as ordering numbers 1 through 10. COVID considerations, this should be easily done during COVID. Treasure box. Treasure boxes are another project that is great for earlier in the year. It is an alternative all about me activity. In the classroom, students decorate a shoebox and then take it home and fill it with artifacts that help us learn about them and their family. I then invite parents to come in and we put all the boxes on display and have a wonderful night learning about each other. The students are very proud to share about their boxes and tell us some of their family stories. This allows us to not only learn about the student, but the whole family. And again, this is an important night for families to mingle and get to know each other as well. I've heard this as also being called living museum or artifacts as well. In fact, I did this as a university student, and it was a great way to get to know the other students in my class. If you do show and tell, it's a great way to start that off too. Just remember, it's always great to create your own box to share with families. COVID considerations. When I did it with a university class, we did it online and used PowerPoint to present. We used breakout rooms in a small group to share. Students could still create their boxes and possibly bring them to school to share on their own. If you are still wanting parents to be part of the sharing process, you might consider recording people or doing an online Teams night with a small group. Or again, if you're up for it, small groups in person. Our final strategy is Family Fridays. This is a fun way to invite parents into the learning. I usually start off the year with some reading. Then we go into playtime and math games. We spend about an hour in the morning together learning and having fun. If children don't have a person show up, I have always had wonderful staff who joined in, such as our principal, secretary, counselor, and others. If no one is available, other family members are always quick to invite others to join in. Often families end up joining together anyways. I always have coffee, tea, juice, and snacks out too. Sometimes the kids and I will make the snacks together. They are very proud when the parents come in to partake. Once we've had a couple of Family Fridays, I invite parents to make some suggestions. What is it that they would like to do? There are always many great suggestions. One parent suggested bingo, but could never make it, so we held an evening of family bingo. I call it Family Friday, but it doesn't always have to be on a Friday. In fact, it is good to have some variety in hopes that others can join in. Last year we were not able to gather, so I hosted an evening of online bingo and almost everybody joined in. In a typical year, I also always let families know anyone is able to come to learn with your child. Sometimes we can't get off work, so grandma or uncle or aunt, a sibling, everyone's welcome. COVID considerations. Gathering sizes might be an issue again. Consider hosting some online events. If your school is one-to-one, you could call parents in on Teams. We did that one morning and read with our parents. I encourage you to utilize outdoors as much as you can while it's nice. Even once winter hits, there are some great ideas you could reimagine and try outdoors. If you are interested in learning more, check out these resources. Beyond the Bake Sale and Engage Over Family are books written by incredible researchers in this field. Promising Practices for Meaningful Family Engagement is the work of 3 SunWest educators, Carly Robson-Gilchrist, Pam Sawatsky, and Amber Thompson. This came out of their research project through the McDowell Foundation. All three resources are great work that will dive deeper into the foundations of parent engagement, as well as give you more ideas to try out in your classroom and school. Before we finish, I invite you to participate in the closing activity, 3 things. My hope is you are able to walk away with at least one thing you are able to try out in your classroom. I invite you to pause the video and consider what are 3 things you want to try. 1 thing you want to try this week, 1 thing you want to try this month, and 1 thing you want to try this year. I encourage you to write it down as well. Thank you again for taking time to consider how you can better engage your parents. My contact information is on the screen. Please feel invited to reach out if you have any questions or would like support implementing any of these strategies in your classroom. Thank you.